Hi everyone, it's Dr. Jason Plotsky here, and what we have here are things that we would consider essential for vital health. Okay, let's talk about the first one, probiotics. So when I think about probiotics, I really think about two basic functions. One is for optimal digestive function, and one is for optimal immune function. So if we talk about digestive function first, what happens is when you have we call dysbiosis. So basically, it's when, if you think about good guys and bad guys. So there's lots of bad guys that can live in your digestive tract, but a lot of times if your good guys are strong enough, everything's in check, everything's in balance. So we think of probiotics that you're going to need this if your digestive system is not in balance. So some of the ways that we would know if it's not in balance, there's different tests that people can do. So something like SIBO, S-I-B-O, is something called small intestine bacterial overgrowth. This would be an example of a dysbiosis. Another one might be if somebody had a candida overgrowth, so like a yeast overgrowth. That would be another example of dysbiosis. So basically where the bad guys are winning out the good guys. Now, these things can be complex, overall health conditions that can affect everything else in your body. So if that's something that you suspect is going on, or if it's something you want to get checked out, we really advise people to seek care from a naturopathic doctor, because they can really go through everything. They can actually even do the testing to see if that's something that you might have. So those are things that we definitely want to get checked out. If your digestion's not optimal, so also thinking about bowel movements. So if you have loose stools or if you're constipated, those would be the two extremes of bowel function. So if your bowel function is not optimized, it's something else that probiotics can have an influence on. And so by taking probiotics and say even a prebiotic, prebiotic is basically what the probiotics would eat. If that doesn't normalize your bowel function, then you definitely want to get some help, because it's really essential that your digestive system functions normally, and bowel health would be a really good indicator if you're having optimal digestive function or not. Now, immune function. If you think about it, 70 to 80% of your immune cells reside in the lining of your gut. So if you have optimal gut health, you'll have really good immune health. So if you find your immune system is not functioning well, it's really important that you investigate the gut and that you take a really high quality probiotic supplement. So a lot of people would say, well, I eat yogurt. Well, two things with yogurt. One, a lot of people eat sugar yogurt. So basically there's so much sugar in the yogurt, it would counterbalance any possible benefit of the probiotic strains in there. The second thing is you would have to eat so much yogurt to get the amount of probiotics that you could in one little capsule. So a lot of capsules, like a daily regime, might be 15 billion in one tiny little capsule. Well, you'd have to eat like a jug of yogurt to get that same amount of probiotic benefit. So really, if you're eating fermented foods, we think that's great. Things like kimchi, sauerkraut, if you're eating kefir or kombucha, that stuff's good, but it might not have a high enough count to optimize your digestive health. So that's where a probiotic can be really helpful, and you want to talk to somebody in a health food store so you can pick the right strain for you and that you can optimize both your digestive function and your immune function. Okay, next on the list is magnesium. Now, you can get magnesium from food. So some of the examples that would be great magnesium sources would be dark chocolate. You could do spinach, nuts and seeds all have high amounts of magnesium. Avocados have high amounts of magnesium. So how would you know if you have a magnesium deficiency? So magnesium deficiencies are actually pretty common. It's the most common mineral deficiency that we would see. So when I have patients that have cramps, or they don't sleep well at night, or their body aches all over, this would be something that I would suspect. So what we would often do is check their diet, have them eat more magnesium-rich foods, but then also try a supplement. So usually people that don't sleep well at night, magnesium at night often helps them sleep. So there's a couple different forms of magnesium. So you need to be aware that magnesium can affect bowel function, in that if you take certain types, so magnesium citrate as an example, or magnesium oxide, it can really have an effect on the bowel movements. So it would actually speed them up a little bit. Where something that's a smaller molecule like magnesium glycinate is typically the molecule that we would recommend for patients that have a lot of muscle cramping or muscle soreness. And when you take that, it doesn't seem to affect the bowel as much. So usually when people take magnesium glycinate, it doesn't have an effect on the bowel, so it's good. If people have slow bowels, we'll often recommend magnesium because it can help regulate bowel function. That's really important. So if you're not sleeping well at night, if you have really slow bowels, if you have a lot of muscle cramps, then magnesium is something that you want to consider. If your bowel function's already normal, then what we would say is take magnesium glycinate. If it's not normal, if it's really slow, then you would want to take magnesium citrate or magnesium oxide. And they can help you out at a health food store to just make sure that you're picking the right one for you. But they're really easy to take, and it's something that, taking before nighttime often really does help people sleep, so that's an easy way to take it. The next one on the list is greens. Now, if you're a person that eats a ton of green vegetables every day, a green supplement is not necessarily something you might need every day. You might just use it as a backup when, say, you're traveling or on days you didn't get quite enough antioxidants in your diet. So antioxidants are really important for two reasons. One, they really protect your cells from damage, and two, they also are anti-inflammatory. So if we think of all the nasty things that are out there today, they're often a byproduct of cellular damage or inflammation. So having enough antioxidants is really important for normal cell function. But also if you're trying to prevent things like cancer, they say the more antioxidants you have, the better your chances of fighting stuff off. So most green supplements, they would provide somewhere between 10 to 15 servings of vegetables. So I think that's awesome. My kids take it. You can find different flavors, and most of the time if you find one that tastes good, you can mix it in smoothies, but you can also have it by itself. So in our morning routine, we'll often make it up for the kids, often just in a little shaker, and the kids will take a couple big sips of that, and then at least we know they've had something green for the day, and it really helps the metabolism in the morning. It's really great for your cells. So a green supplement, depending on your diet and how many vegetables you consume, we would consider greens in general, and any person that's writing books on nutrition is going to tell you to eat more greens. But it's really about if you're getting enough per day. So if you're not getting enough per day, definitely recommend a green supplement. Now, vitamin D. Right now, this is such a huge topic, and it's really, really important as we approach winter months that you have your vitamin D optimized. Now, why? Well, basically, there's different disease processes that they've linked with different latitudes in North America, MS being one of them, cancer being another. So really, vitamin D it's not just a supplement, it's a hormone in your body that's essential for your cells. So we really want to make sure that your vitamin D levels are optimized. Now, what does that mean? Well, there's a range. So in Canada, the range is really 100 to 150 that we want to try and get your vitamin D. Now, the average Canadian is about 65. So what we're finding is that most of our patients are deficient, especially the more into the winter months you go. So starting where we live in Nova Scotia, we want people to be supplementing basically from September till about April. Why? Because the sun's rays are not strong enough. Even if you're outside, the rays aren't strong enough for you to make your own vitamin D. So in the summertime, you make it, your body has this really great mechanism where it will shut off when it's had enough. So vitamin D is fat soluble. So what that means is when your body makes it, it stores it and then it uses it as it needs it. So let's say you had a couple sunny days and you're outside and you don't have sunscreen on, 15 minutes in the sun, we don't promote, we don't want you to burn, but you basically need to expose your body to sunlight for your body to make the vitamin D. Now, let's say you get a couple rainy days, well, your body would just take that reserve and then use it as it needs. But in the wintertime, you don't have any reserve if you're not supplementing. So in Canada, the safe upper limit is 4,000 units per day. So the safe upper limit is basically what Health Canada has said. If you took 4,000 units per day, it would be impossible for you to overdose. So a lot of supplements might have 1,000, they might have 2,000. And really what this would do, it would prevent rickets, which is great. But if we look at optimizing vitamin D, it won't be enough to optimize that number. There was a study done in Canada that they said if everyone had their vitamin D level at around 100, what would happen, it would save the healthcare system $12.5 billion per year in direct costs. So we really want to make sure that you optimize your vitamin D. We think that you should know your vitamin D level just like people know their blood pressure number or they know their cholesterol number. You want to know your vitamin D number because if it's deficient, it's going to make you prone to other types of diseases, like they're linking it to different types of cancers. And we already mentioned MS and now type 2 diabetes. So these are really prevalent in Canada. So it's really important that we know our number and that you supplement accordingly. So again, we're not saying you want to be outside burning in the sun. Obviously, we don't want to do any damage to your skin, but you do need to get some sun exposure in the summer months to produce enough vitamin D. And then in the winter months, you might have to adjust your dose depending on what your number is. So you want to know your number and then you want to dose accordingly. So the standard North American diet, if we look at all of the industrial seed oils that are in all of the processed foods, so your soybean oil, your canola oil, safflower, corn, these types of oil are really high in omega-6. And what's really important for our body, they estimate that the optimal ratio for omega-6 to omega-3 is either 2-to-1 or 4-to-1 for 6-to-3. Now, with all those oils in our diets right now, the actual ratio is about 20-to-1, which puts your cells in an inflammatory state. They call that a pro-inflammatory diet because the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 is so high. So if you want to change that, there's two things you got to do. One, you have to lower the use of those oils and processed foods in general. So we want to try and get all of the industrial seed oils out as much as you can. It's sometimes impossible to get all of them out, but if you're eating a lot of processed foods, this will be a game changer for your cells. You want to get that stuff out for sure. The other thing you want to do is as you decrease the amount of omega-6s, those harmful omega-6s, so not all omega-6 is bad, you do need some omega-6, but you want to use things like olive oil, avocado oil, those types of oils are healthier choices. We're going to try and get out the industrial seed oils. The other thing you need to do is you need to get more omega-3s into your diet. Now, omega-3s are basically essential fats, meaning your body needs these for your cells to be healthy and normal. So there's two components to omega-3 that are really important that I want to mention. So one, these are different components of the omega-3. You can think of it like that. One is called EPA, one is called DHA. So if you take a fish oil bottle and you look at the contents, what it's going to say, it's going to give you a number in milligrams of how much omega-3 is in there. And then it's going to say how many milligrams of EPA and how many milligrams of DHA. Now, these are both essential to your cells, but they have different functions in your body. So for example, EPA, we really think about it for inflammation control. So when someone, if I have a patient that has a lot of joint pain, or if we know that they have cardiovascular disease already, we know that there's inflammation in the vessels, we really want to get them something that has a high amount of EPA. If I have a patient that we know is struggling with brain health, so they might have dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, things like that, then we might want to recommend something that has a little bit higher DHA. And to protect both of those components in your body, if you want to protect your brain, you want to protect your cells, taking something like a fish oil is going to have both of these already in the product. Now, here's something that we got to explain because people will say, well, you could also take chia seeds, flax seeds, those types of things, and this is true. The thing is that your body, if we take chia seeds and flax seeds, it does contain EPA, and those are very healthy things, and hemp seeds. You want to eat all that stuff. But your body has to basically convert it into DHA. There's an enzyme process that happens there, and they estimate that is only 15, at most 5 to 15% effective, meaning that the EPA you have in your diet, if you have it from the seeds, only 5 to 15% of it will get converted into DHA. Where fish oil, if you take it, there's already a certain amount of milligrams that's ready to go for your cells to use. So that's why we recommend fish oil. If you're a vegan, you can get an algae source that has DHA. It has a higher component to it. So that's something that you can take if you're vegan. Otherwise, if you're not, we want to really recommend that you take a high quality fish oil. There are different brands out there, and they've even gone as far to say, okay, we now have a high DHA, or we have a high EPA. So if you have an inflammatory condition, you might want to consider something that is high EPA. If you have something that is brain health related, you might want to consider something DHA related. So omega-3s, really important to get into your diet. We tell people if you're eating fatty fish 3 times a week, it's something that you might just need an occasional supplement. But if you're not eating fatty fish that often, then it's something that you should take weekly. Okay, so you really want to make sure you get these into your diet. Again, this can help prevent heart attacks, heart disease. It can keep your brain healthy. It keeps all your cells healthy. It's an essential component, so it's something that we really recommend that you have optimized in your diet.